Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is the first time that I'm coming back to YouTube since February. So much has gone on between February and now. It's like absolutely insane. Let me start off the video by saying I'm so grateful and thankful that you're here with me right now watching this video. I really hope that if you clicked on it, it helps you in some way or maybe sheds light on what the dark night of the soul is and how maybe you can help someone else who's going through that experience, or if you're going through that experience yourself, just so you know you're gonna make it out alive and you're gonna come out stronger than ever. And yeah, so if anything, I hope that's what you take away from this video. But yes, let's get started. What is the dark night of the soul? I feel like a standard definition, I would say, of what the dark night of the soul is basically the death of your ego, the awakening of your spiritual and higher self. It's this period of time where you enter in this just dark, depressed, I don't even know how to explain it. It's almost kind of like you're just not yourself. You're like this very depressed, anxious, confused, lost person that is not who you thought you were. So that's the basic definition of a dark night of the soul. I don't know it all. I'm not like, you know, some spiritual guru out there. That's my definition, and that's what I went through with this experience. So I guess I'll start from the beginning. It's been kind of building up to the dark night of the soul. It's kind of just been a lot of things happening over time that kind of built up to this huge 3-month-long event. So I guess for me, what triggered the dark night of the soul was my work environment. It's different for everyone. Everyone has a different way that their dark night approaches, or a different set of circumstances. For me, my circumstances were being in a negative environment. I like my job, I like where I work, but unfortunately I am surrounded by very negative people and in a very low vibrational environment, and it's out of my control. There's nothing I could do about it. There's nothing I couldn't just leave my job. I mean, at that time I was just very dedicated. I really loved being there. It was in a great area. It just had like basically kind of just all of my check marks of what I wanted in a job, and it was that. And unfortunately, this promotion that I got was a blessing and a curse at the same time. A blessing because it was a promotion and it was more money, and it was, you know, going to improve my livelihood. And also a blessing because if I didn't get this promotion, I probably wouldn't have gone through the dark night of the soul, and I probably wouldn't be the person that I am today. So I'm like forever grateful for going through this, and I'm forever grateful for me taking those steps to reach the dark night. So I know this sounds crazy because the dark night of the soul is very, 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 it almost kind of feels like you died. Like it's a very sad, depressing, hopeless time period. And it's very, very hard to go through. But looking back where I'm at now, looking back, I am so grateful that I went through it. And I'm so grateful, you know, that my job kind of jump-started me to that in my life. So needless to say, I was in a very low vibrational space, very negative energy around me all the time. I am a naturally bubbly, happy person. I feel like I'm very neutral in my vibration. Like I pretty much, for the most part, am like neutral or high vibe. Naturally, that's just how I've been. But being in the negative, low vibrational environment for a long period of time wears on you, and it begins to slowly deteriorate your vibration, and then you just become combined with the other low vibrational energies. Slowly over time, my vibration was just getting lower and lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. And it was to the point where I started stuttering. I lost my confidence. I was doubting myself. I was really unhappy. I was just kind of feeling down all the time and just depressed almost. And I've never in my life ever have felt depressed like how I felt during those 3 months. I've always kind of struggled with getting down on myself and like feeling sad and like, you know, being really hard on myself and self-critical. But it was, what I experienced during this time was nothing compared to what I've experienced in the past. So my vibration was low. I mean, like shame, guilt, fear, low. The lowest of the low. And I noticed that I was sad all the time. Like I would come home from work and I would just sleep. I would just go to sleep. For me, that was an escape from feeling sad, lonely, depressed. My self-confidence was just gone. And I would just sleep all the time. Or I would, you know, consume alcohol, soothing with food, and I would zone out and binge watch Netflix. Basically numbing activities, because I just didn't know what was going on with me. I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know. I just remember one day coming home and telling my boyfriend, I just feel so sad. He's like, why? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just so sad. I'm almost gonna cry right now because I remember, I remember what that felt like. And it was just the deepest low of the low. Like, I just hope nobody ever goes through that. But if you're clicking on this video, I'm sure you're probably in it right now or you're curious about it. So I don't even know how to explain it, but it's painful. Let's just say that. It's really painful. And I just remember just, you know, having my best friend, and I would really lean on her a lot at work. And I just remember, you know, really leaning on friends and just talking about stuff, but just not feeling better. Like, it doesn't matter how much I would talk to them or how much I would try and focus on the positive or how much I would really start focusing on my mental health. It just wasn't going away. Yeah, so I remember did some little Google searches and I got myself in therapy. If you guys are new to my channel, I am actually very comfortable talking about therapy. I've been in therapy before, couples therapy with my boyfriend, and this time around I was like, man, I'm just so depressed. I need to talk to someone about what's going on with me because I don't know what's going on with me. And so, you know, I got online, started making some phone calls, and I found a therapist who I totally love, by the way. She's amazing. I'm still seeing her to this day. And in my therapy session, I basically said to her, I don't know what's going on with me. I'm really depressed. I think I know what the issue is. I'm around negative people all day long in my work environment, and I think it's just wearing on me, and I'm just becoming this person that I don't even recognize anymore. And I really just wanted, you know, she asked me what my goals were, and I told her I want to be the best version of myself possible. I want to be my authentic self. And that was the first time that I ever said that out loud. Like, I always thought that I was my authentic self. I always thought that I was me. But it turns out, through the dark night of the soul and going through this spiritual journey that I've been on, there's two versions of me. There's ego me and there's higher self me. And I don't know, somehow in that therapy session, I said, I want to be my authentic self. So I think deep down inside, my ego knew that it was on the verge of breaking, disappearing, changing, and my higher self came in and was like, you know, Destiny, you want to be the best version of yourself. You want to be that person that you knew was always there, but you were always scared to let out, which would be ego pushing that person down and presenting a false self, basically, if that makes any sense. So I started going to therapy and I started addressing the issues, and I actually got worse. I got worse in therapy, which I don't even know how that's even possible, but it totally happened because I was being very triggered and I was talking. I think the thing is that when you start talking about issues, you start realizing what a significant role they play in your life versus just shoving it down and not dealing with it. Talking about it is really difficult, but it's also very relieving as well. It's difficult, but relieving. I remember just talking about all these things, and then I remember telling her, like, I've had traumatic experiences happen to me when I was a child. And for the first time in my life, I wanted to talk about my traumatic experiences. And the dark night of the soul does that to you. It really just, you have this urge to purge. You have this urge to purge all of your childhood traumas. It's almost kind of like, okay, it brings all of those traumas, like I'm shaking my hands because I don't know how else to describe it, but it's like slowly pushing all of those emotions, memories, traumas, all the way up to the surface, where it's almost kind of like you need to like word vomit it out. Like you need to just get it out of your system, just release it, because it's the dark night is the death of the ego, and the ego pushes those feelings down, pushes those traumas down, pushes all of those subconscious just things that eat your soul alive, just pushes them down. But the dark night of the soul, the death of the ego, your higher self is just pushing those things up. Your higher self knows that they need to be dealt with and they need to be purged and they need to be addressed. I started seeing the therapist in March, pretty much beginning of March, all of March, and then around April, about a month after seeing her, I was ready to discuss my childhood traumas. I remember going in that day not really knowing if I was gonna let it out or not, and I certainly did. I remember telling her something along the lines of like, oh, I like to keep my ego in check. And she was like, funny that you mentioned ego. And I said, what do you mean? And she was like, well, you know, sometimes you may think your ego's in check, but it's really what's holding you back. And it's what's keeping you from moving forward. And I'm like, what? I don't get it. Like, what do you mean? Like, my ego's in check. Like, I'm a good person. I'm this, I'm that. That was really my ego talking, because the ego tries to soothe itself. Okay, the ego will soothe, it will identify with whatever label, with whatever mentality. It will do whatever it can possible to survive, because the ego is fear and shame, and it's just that thing that will keep you safe. I spent 2 hours in that room with her discussing all of my childhood traumas, just unloading the mother load. Like Pandora's box was open. And I remember just feeling so raw and so shredded and so vulnerable and so like alive at the same time. I don't know how else to explain it, but just raw. And I remember driving myself home, and I came home and I was, you know, just distraught. And then I remember just having this fight with my boyfriend because I was in such emotional distress over what happened. I hadn't allowed myself to fully feel it. And I remember my boyfriend and I got into this like stupid argument over, I don't even know what. And I just remember crying. And then he was like, are you okay? And it was just this whole thing. And then I was like, yeah. And then I ended up calming down. We ate dinner. I went to bed. And I remember me and him were just laying in bed and, you know, kissing and hugging and just kind of like, I told him, I was like, I talked about things I've never talked about before, and I'm just feeling really raw. And I just remember breaking down. Like, I was in bed and I cried like a baby. I cried like I've never cried in my life. Deep soul cry. And then it was over. And then I stopped crying. And then I remember just him hugging me and him holding me, and honestly, I don't even know how I would have made it through without him. Like, he's amazing. I freaking love him. And I just remember him holding me, and I went to sleep, and I woke up the next day, and I just was like a whole new person. I didn't know who I was. I woke up and I did not know, who am I? And I remember wearing all black. I just had this urge to wear all black. And I remember telling my friends, I was like, oh, I'm mourning the death of the old Destiny. Which is like so cheesy and so, like, looking back, it's so dramatic and so cheesy, but a part of me died that day in that therapy room, purging my traumas. A part of me died, and it was my ego. And that is what the dark night consists of. Just the lowest of the low, the purging of the traumas, the dealing of the subconscious, the thoughts, the everything. It's like a whirlwind of every emotion you could ever think of. And I remember the following next week or so, I just kind of kept going to therapy. I kept making my way through. And then I started researching what the dark night of the soul is, because I don't even know what I was going through. I did not know at the time what I was going through, what it was. And then I just started going down the whole spiritual realm of information, and I came across the dark night of the soul and what it was. And once I knew what I was going through was an actual thing, I felt so much better, because I thought like I was going crazy. I literally thought I was going crazy. Who am I? What am I going through? This is not normal. I'm not a depressed person. I'm usually really happy. What's wrong with me? I'm broken. And finding out what the dark night of the soul was via YouTube was the best day ever, because that's when I realized it's going to end. Like, what I'm going through, it's a thing, and it's going to be over, and I will be myself again. Which in all reality, I'll never be myself again, because a part of me died that day and my ego was shed, and now I have a new ego and my higher self. Like, I'm in touch with my higher self now. This is up for debate. In my opinion, I feel like ego will never ever officially die. There's always going to be a small amount of ego in any person, because it's just there. That's just our subconscious, and that's just, it just exists. I just don't know if there's ever a person out there, except for like the top spiritual leaders of the world. They probably don't have egos, or maybe their egos are just so small that they don't even know it's there, but that's just my opinion. The rest of the month following, from the day that I purged my traumas to the end of April, so beginning of April to the end of April, I really just went in and did the work. I started meditating. I started listening to affirmations on YouTube. I started doing essential oils. I started doing crystals, meditations with crystals. I started doing all kinds of stuff. I was so ready for a change in my life, and I was so ready to just become the person that I want to be and be my highest self. For the first time in my life, I started believing in a higher power. I started believing in the spirit. I started believing in angels. I started believing in God. I started believing in the source. You know, you can name it whatever you want, but I started believing in something higher than myself. I would go as far as to say, before that this experience happened, I would have considered myself atheist. I didn't believe in anything. I mean, I believed in like karma, and I believed in like, you know, the universe, but I didn't necessarily believe that. Like, I had a intuition feeling that there was probably something out there, but I never would fully embrace it and fully believe it. I was just kind of like, you know, maybe there is, but there's no concrete evidence. Me being a Virgo, I need evidence. I need to know. I need proof. I need facts. I need answers. And the thing is that God and the universe and the spirit and angels, there are no concrete scientific facts, you know, like it's just how you believe, and it's faith, and it's intuition, and it's that feeling of knowing that there's something there for you, and that there's a higher power, and that there's, you know, a higher level of consciousness, and there's a collective consciousness, and you just know, like when you know, you know. And I just remember one day just knowing that there's someone watching over me, and just knowing that there's spirits with me and love surrounding me. And I just knew. One day I just knew. And I remember it being such a foreign feeling to believe in something. The greatest thing that I have experienced since going through the dark night of the soul is just having that faith, that belief, that intuition of knowing there's a higher power out there, and knowing that I'm not in control. You know, there's always a master plan, and I'm not in control of it. You know, the spirit is. It was a process. It was a process. And going to therapy weekly and just having a support system is what got me through it, honestly. Support system, friends, family, boyfriend, being vulnerable got me through it. I know that being vulnerable sounds scary, and it's like, wait, how does being vulnerable get you through being vulnerable? But it's so true. When you let your guard down and you share the deepest, darkest part of yourself with someone else, it's very empowering, and it gives you courage to, number one, feel better, because, you know, you're letting it out and you're showing yourself to someone you love, but also to showing yourself that, hey, like, I'm not alone, like, I got this. Because the ego wants you to think that you're alone. Ego wants you to think that you're not worthy, that you're not worthy of love, you're not worthy of having friends, you're not worthy. But being vulnerable is basically shutting ego down and putting yourself out there and being vulnerable with your friends and family. And it's funny because when you do that and people see that, your ego wants you to think, oh, they're not going to care, or they're not going to feel the same way, or they're not going to give you the love that you need and deserve. It's so not true. Because when I started being vulnerable and opening up and actually like connecting with people, it made me more closer to them, and it made me feel more loved. This whole entire experience has changed my life. I am so grateful for going through this experience. It has enriched my relationship with my family, relationship with my friend, relationship with my boyfriend, and most importantly, it has enriched the relationship with myself. I began to love myself after going through the dark night of the soul. I began to cherish all of the good qualities about myself and all of the not so good qualities about myself. And honestly, I would not change it for the world. I would not go back. I would not do anything differently, because this has taught me so much about myself, about life, about spirituality, about energy, about relationships. I mean, just everything possible has changed. Everything has changed. And I got my confidence back. I got my self-esteem back. I got my love, my passion. I mean, look at me. I'm creating art. I have like basically this whole wall and up is just a bunch of art that I've painted. And I've just unleashed this creative, vulnerable, happy side of myself because the ego died, essentially. I just want to say, if you're going through the dark night of the soul, you will make it out. I promise you, you will make it out. Don't give up. Do not give up. Do not let ego take over your life and make you think that you're alone and that it's hopeless. I know it feels like that. Trust me, I know it feels like it's never going to end, like the pain is never ever going to end. But I promise you, if you believe in the higher power, in spirit, in the universe, in God, in angels, whatever you believe in, if you believe in just something, I promise you, you will crawl your way out of that pit. Like, I remember in therapy, I was telling my therapist, I feel like I'm at the bottom of a well and I'm slowly crawling my way up to the top of the well, and I'm gonna climb out. I know I'm gonna climb out. And guess what? I climbed out. I'm out of the hole. I'm like getting chills right now just talking about it. I climbed out of that pit, of the well, of the darkest deep pit of my soul. I climbed out and I'm like a new person, and it feels amazing. It feels really good to love yourself and to treat yourself like a friend. Like, damn, you just fucking went through that hard time in your life, and you know, you got this. I'm so proud of you. You know, just love yourself, treat yourself with love, and I promise you, you will get out of it, and you will be on to bigger and better things, and you will be stronger than ever. I am like, if you have gone through the dark night of the soul and came out the other side, I commend you. You were amazing. You did it. Like, you're the strongest of the strong, because some people can't go through that because they're just so hurt and so in pain and don't have the strength in them to let go and embrace the dark night of the soul. So if you did that, you are the strongest of the strong, the amazing of the amazing, the best of the best. I commend you. You did it. I did it. So anyways, I hope this video helps somebody out there. I hope that explains why I've been gone for so long. I really want to bring this dark night of the soul, spiritual conversation to my channel, because it really is a part of who I am and what I believe now. And I just really want to continue to inspire others and help others and heal others. So I hope this video helped you, and I just want you to know I'm so grateful for you being here, watching the video, and I love you so much, so much, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.